welcome to another Tonic Craft Kit unboxing video. Today's one is for kit number 57, which is called the Festive Town kit. And as you can tell from the word festive, this is the first Christmas kit for this year. I know it's a little bit early to be starting Christmas, but in the crafting world, you kind of craft Christmas all year round, don't you? So it's quite nice to get a little bit of a head start and see what kind of products are going to be coming out for Christmas. So let's have a look at this month's kit. So firstly, you can see in here that we have got a new binder, so just in time to start storing in our next editions of the Tonic Craft Kit. And this is just like a standard 2-hole punch kind of binder. As I keep saying in lots of these videos, you can put your designer's choice, your kits, the smaller A5 showcases, the small even smaller showcases where you get them in the sort of 6x6 packaging as well. They fit in this ring binder too, so if you don't always get the Tonic Craft Kit, you can put your other Tonic releases in here as well. So we've got that. Then you'll notice here, I'll show you these two pieces first actually before the Nouveau. So we have got a full pack of 7x7 card blanks, and this is the ivory white colour, so it's just a slightly off-white kind of ivory colour. This is pure white, and then that's just a little bit of like a creamy sort of a colour. And the weights of the card are in American sort of units, so they're £111 weight, which I think is just 300 GSM, and the envelopes are £44 weight, which I think is like 120, 140 GSM from, if I'm remembering rightly from the last packet we had. But yeah, ivory white square 7x7 card blanks, so a really nice size actually. I did do all of my cards in my small size that I love doing, but that's just because it's my preferred size of card, and I always like my cards that come out when I do them that size. If I try and transfer it onto a larger card, I don't always like how they come out, so I kind of just stuck to my normal kind of size. But you can definitely use these to make different size cards as well. If you like your smaller cards too, you can trim these down to be the small size of card. You can trim them to be a 5x7 card, top folding or side folding, which is nice. You can trim them down to be a smaller square, or as I can't remember who said it, but somebody said to me when I was talking about cutting down the 6x6 squares we had in a previous kit, they said if you cut that in half, that actually makes a mini slimline card. So if you like the look of like a mat onto a card blank rather than your like front panel being right up to the edges of your card blank, if you cut this one in half, then you would have a mini slimline that's slightly bigger, if that makes sense. So you'd have that little border all the way around the edge. So a great idea if you want to make the most out of your cards, because you would be able to get 20 of those out of these, because you've got 10 card blanks and you would be cutting them in half, so you get 20 of them. But you also have the envelopes to go with them. If you are trimming your card blanks down to a different size, you might be thinking, what do I do with the envelopes? But there are tons of different things to do with envelopes. Obviously you can just store things in them. If you have loads of die cuts left over, you could label them with what die set it's come from, what kit it's come from, what like theme it is, like Christmas leftover snowflakes or something. You could put them in your envelopes, or you can make really cool like memory books and stuff out of envelopes as well, just securing them at the sealed end, so you can still use the flap as like a pocket. It works really nicely to make sort of memory books and stuff. So that's the first thing that we've got in this month's craft kit. Then we also have this, which is another kind of staple. We had that Essentials glue pen recently, which is a fantastic staple to have on your desk all the time. And also this month we have got the 6mm tissue tape, so the double-sided tissue tape, and you get 25 meters on a roll, and they do last a long time. I am always using my wider one, which is the 12mm, and 12mm and the 6mm as well, and when I'm using them to stick a card front onto a card blank, I tend to go all the way around the edges on all 4 sides and diagonally across the middle, which you will have seen multiple times in my sped up videos. And even though I use like that much on a card, this still lasts such a long time, and you can really make it go a long way for whether you're using it to stick your card blanks down, whether you do like strips of paper with that cool kind of technique, whether you use this to add glitter onto as well. You can use this for glitter too. Even though it's a tissue tape, it still has a smooth enough kind of overall adhesive quality that you can put glitter on it and it doesn't look too weird. Like, you might think with a tissue tape that it's going to be thinner than like an ultra high tack kind of tape, but you can still do the glittering sort of techniques with your tissue tape as well, which is fantastic. So it's really, really useful tape to have. I've gone through so many rolls of this. I don't really want to know actually how many rolls I've gone through of either of the two widths of this, but I always have a stock of it in my drawer because then I can easily just grab for another roll. And I only just started that 12mm roll earlier as well. But yeah, great addition to have on your desk for using as well. And actually, if you're like me, you probably don't go for the narrower width of tape because it's often the same price as the wider width, and you kind of think to yourself, well, I might as well buy the wider width because then I could cut it down smaller if I wanted to. So we don't always treat ourselves to that narrower kind of width of tape. So it's quite nice to get the 6mm one actually. And also the narrower tape is really great for just like accenting pattern papers with like the glittering or the gilding flakes as well. So it's nice to have that sort of narrower kind of tape. Plus, I know I always use red liner tape on 3D kind of projects, but 6mm tape is often the perfect width to fit on the tabs. And if you're going to use tape and glue, you can get away with using the tissue tape as well. So you might want to keep it for your 3D box making too. So that is the second thing. Then we have got our lovely bundle of Nouveau goodies, which is always my favourite. I am actually missing one piece as well. You will be getting a mini gemstone packet, and they say that they are called Veiled Rose mini gemstones. So from the little picture it looks like they're little circular gemstones, and you should be getting a small little bag of those with, well, a decent amount in there as well, but they should go perfectly with the rest of the kit too, but I haven't got them to show you. The next thing, we have got a mini embossing powder, which is the Shimmering Pearl. Mine doesn't actually say the name on the bottom, but I've got my full big pot of it here. So you've got the Shimmering Pearl embossing powder, and there's the number if you want to look it up, 599N. I love this one. This is one of the original kind of embossing powders. I think they brought out white, clear, black and the metallics first, and then I don't think this one was far behind. But it's a beautiful embossing powder that is, it's clear, but it's got a pearlescent finish to it, and it has the sparkle in it as well. And you get this little mini pot in the kit, which actually goes a decently long way. Mine's got a really sticky bit of tape that I put back on there. But it goes a really long way for doing all sorts of little different accents. And as I said before, this is a Christmas kit, so we actually have some snowflake stamps in the little stamp set, so it's perfect for embossing this with. And the next item that we have is the Nouveau Clear Mark embossing pen, so you can draw little circles and then add this to it and heat emboss it and get some gorgeous snow effects. And I explained that as an idea for a card later on in the video as well. But this is the Nouveau Clear Mark embossing pen. This came out quite a while ago actually, and my pen here, I left the new one in the packet, but my pen is actually my original one, so I can't remember when this came out, but I would imagine it was at least 3 years ago, possibly even more, and it still works perfectly because it has a pump action in it. So you have the gorgeous pen, it's really comfy to hold. It has a lovely gem on the top of the lid, which you know it's a gorgeous Nouveau product then. And the actual nib of it, I think the nib is supposed to be a bit longer than that, but mine's just got a bit battered over time. And you can see it looks nice and juicy with the embossing ink, and you can, if I just get a scrap here, you can draw anything you like. So you can do little hearts, you can see it's shiny there, and you'd put your powder on and emboss just as you would if you had stamped that image. But if your pen is getting dry, you can actually pump as well to get it to be a lot juicier to do your drawing with, or dots and stuff as well. And that's how you prime the pen too. It's very similar to a glitter marker. It will come, the nib is orange when it comes, or yellowy orange kind of colour, but it hasn't got any of the product in it. You'll just need to do exactly what you do with a glitter marker and just hold it down and push the nib in and wait for some of the ink to come down into the nib of the pen, and then it will work perfectly. And if you are having trouble with your embossing powder not sticking to what you've drawn, then just pump it a couple of times just to make sure there's lots of that sticky ink in the nib of the pen, and then you should get the perfect adhesion of your embossing powders onto there. I think it's a great tool to have. You don't always use it because you're often sort of stamping and heat embossing, but it is a great tool to have even if you don't use it that often, because there's always a time where you've stamped an image and it hasn't quite completely stamped properly and you wanted to heat emboss it, and you're so annoyed because you used an acrylic block or something to stamp with and you can't line it up perfectly to, you know, re-stamp the impression of the image. So what I do is I heat emboss that stamped image with the missing pieces, and then I go back in with the clear mark pen and try and fill in any of those areas, especially silhouette stamps this is fantastic for. Fine detail you might struggle with a little bit, but if it's in a thicker part of it you can get away with using the marker pen to fill in that gap, and then you just put your embossing powder on and then heat set it again, and you should hardly be able to tell that anything was wrong with your first stamped impression. So this is a great way of saving images that you want to heat emboss that haven't stamped perfectly. I mean, obviously you could use your stamping platform and then you could perfectly stamp it in the same position again, but I know not everybody has a stamping platform, so a clear mark pen is always a great product to have on your desk, because before I ever had a stamping platform I would always go to this for my heat embossing, and a lot of the time, because Versamark or the Nouveau clear sticky ink pad or the Perfect medium pads are so sticky and juicy with that ink, I do most of the time use an acrylic block for stamping for heat embossing. So you know, it's that kind of thing is more likely to happen when you're using an acrylic block rather than a stamping platform. So always great to have the pen. Plus, if you love drawing, then you can draw and heat emboss whatever you've drawn. If you want little extra accents on your card but you don't have a stamp that looks right, or you can't bother to go and find one, or you want the snowfall kind of look, or you want to edge your card with a little bit of embossing and you want it to look really nice and neat, so many ways to use this clear mark pen. So if you haven't tried this before, it's a great little addition to your pen pot on your desk. So that is the clear mark pen. Then you'll also notice a different kind of pen in here as well, or water brush. This is the Aqua Shimmer, but it's the Opal Quartz colour, and it's got an iridescent kind of finish to it that gives a purple sort of tint. And I've kept the one in the packaging to show you, plus my one I've been using, because it comes with the yellow band around it, which just stops the mechanism from coming together and allowing the ink to flow into the bristles, so you won't get any leaks because it comes with this band on. So when you get yours, you'll have the orange ring on here, and you'll literally just pop the lid off, and the ring will be between the top part of the brush and the white bit here, and you can literally just pull this off because it won't be screwed on very tightly. Take the ring off, screw this back on until it's touching right down to here, and you'll hear it go pop as the seal is broken as well, and then you can just activate, kind of a similar process to the embossing pen, but this time instead of pressing down, because we've got bristles, you're just going to gently squeeze on the barrel where it says Nouveau, and you're going to see the product come through into this sort of valve system, and then it will flow through into the bristles. And with any of the Aqua Shimmers, whether it is this Opal Quartz one, there is like particles in the solution, and so you can actually hear there are tiny little ball bearings in there which help mix it up into solution. So if you have one of the glittery sort of ones, or this one with the sort of iridescent shimmer in there, make sure you give it a nice shake before you use it, and that will mean that you'll get a nice even distribution of the gorgeous shimmer that's in there when you're working with it as well. And when you get down to relatively near the bottom, I'd say, well, I mean, you kind of know when it's getting empty because you'll keep squeezing and nothing's going to sort of come out of the bristles, but there will still be some of that gorgeous mica-y stuff and a little bit of the product still in there. And you can actually make this go further and use some distilled water or deionized water that you can get in like the battery section, or the car section, you can use it for batteries, or in the ironing section if you go for one of the non-scented ones, and you can top the barrel of this pen up and you can actually get a little bit more shimmer out of it as well. And I love doing that for when I'm working with my watercolour pencils, because I feel like whatever's in the solution, because it's got I mean, it's not really like a gritty texture, but because it's got some sort of substance to it, I feel like it helps activate your watercolour pencils as well. So that's what I tend to do with mine, and when I've watered them down, I put a little bit of washi tape around them as well, so you can make them go further too, which is always nice. So that is the Aqua Shimmer. Then we have got 2 full-size Nouveau products as well. I don't know why I'm so far out, I'll zoom you in a bit further. We have got a full-size Nouveau Crystal Drop, and this is one of the metallic finishes, and this is the navy blue colour, as if that wasn't obvious from the colour of it, but it's a beautiful navy blue colour. I didn't actually do a swatch of this, I'll just do a blob onto this piece of card that I was playing with earlier, but it's a really gorgeous metallic-y colour. If I swirl that around, you'll see the sort of metallic sheen in there. It's not the best blob, but because I swirled it, you can kind of see that metallic sheen that's in there. So it's really, really gorgeous, deep, dark navy blue kind of a colour with the metallic-y pearlescent sort of finish to it as well. Really pretty for Christmas, actually. I mean, I suppose blue is kind of a traditional Christmas colour when you go for like the snowy kind of blue and silvers. But yeah, it's a really beautiful colour to add into your Christmas kind of elements. And I was actually using these two together to make one of my squishy, blobby kind of backgrounds to act as like snowfall, even though the snow was blue and the background was white. But it gives that sort of effect. So that is the navy blue metallic crystal drop. And then we're also getting a full-size bottle of the Atlantic Drift glitter accents. So this is basically like the old formulation of glimmer paste. So if you, I mean, you might never have tried the old formulation of the glimmer paste. You might have only ever tried the new stuff, but the old formulation tended to dry very quickly. So, I mean, this is perfect as it is, you know, in the bottle for making your glittery little drops or accents to put onto things. But you can also squeeze this out onto your media spatulas, your silicone media spatulas, and scrape it through a stencil. But just be aware that this is the old kind of formula, so if you're using it with a stencil, you want to wash the stencil pretty quickly so that it comes off nice and easily, and use like an old toothbrush to get into any sort of fine detail areas as well, because once this is dry, it is really nice and solid, which is perfect for your project, but you kind of don't want that staying on your stencil. But I do really love the glitter accents because you can do all sorts of like really thick dimensional applications with it as well. I mean, it gives kind of a similar look to a glittery Nouveau drop, but it has a texture to it when it dries, so you actually feel the glitter in it. That whatever the substance is or the suspension is that the glitter is in, it kind of shrinks away from the glitter when it dries, rather than like doming over the top of it. So you will actually feel the glitter once this is dry. And I love using this for different background techniques as well, like squishing the drops together, or on one of my cards I was literally just drawing it in a circle like this. To create a different kind of effect as well. So it's a lovely versatile product, and I love that it's in the squeezy bottle as well, and it actually has a wider nozzle to it than a normal Nouveau drop because of like the thicker particles of glitter that are in here too. So if you've never tried the glitter accents before, or even if you've never tried the glimmer paste before, it's a nice way to try that and see what it's like, see if you like this kind of product as well. But it's great for all sorts of mixed media kind of applications, or you can be really clean and neat and tidy with it as well, and just use it as a Nouveau drop kind of product as well. So those are the 2 bottles of Nouveau that we're getting in this month's kit. Then we have got the papers. So we've got our lovely folder with all of the gorgeous A4 papers in. I don't think we have any patterned paper in this month's kit. We have quite a few colours of the classic card, which is really nice. So we have 4 different sheets, I think, yeah, of the classic card, which is the one that is textured on one side and smooth on the other. Sorry, I haven't been showing you the texture quite so up close. My camera does this weird thing. If I take it right up close to show you the texture really closely, it then doesn't want to focus again. I have to turn it off and on again. So you can still see the texture from that distance, but it's gorgeous like linen sort of texture on one side, and then it's smooth on the other side. And the 4 colours that we have are Ivory White, which is going to go fantastically with your Ivory card blanks. Then you've also got Misty Grey, which is one of my favourite greys actually. I really love this subtle colour, and it works really nicely with silvers and blues too. It's a really lovely colour. Then we have Arctic Blue, and we also have Coral Pink. So you might be thinking, well actually you don't know what the die set is at this point, so you probably won't be thinking this is a weird colour scheme. But when I was, when I opened the kit first time, I was kind of like, how is this going to work with the die set? And I was a bit sceptical about it, but actually I really like this colour scheme with the die set that's in there. So hopefully you're going to love it as well, and you'll kind of see what I mean when I show you the die set too. But those are the 4 textured cardstocks that we're getting in this kit, 1 sheet of each of them. Then we're also getting a couple of sheets of pearlescent cardstock, which is double-sided, so you have the beautiful pearlescent sheen on both sides of the cardstock. And we have got the Navy Dazzle, which is a beautiful navy, which will go really nicely with your navy Nouveau drops as well. And then we also have the Blushing Pink, which is more of like a peachy sort of pink, and goes really nicely with that coral cardstock as well. They go sort of tone on tone together. Really, really nice combination of the two. Then we have 2 pieces of glitter card in this one as well. So we have the gorgeous Sugar Crystal glitter card, which is that gorgeous iridescent like Aurora Borealis kind of finish with a little bit of green and pink, but it's a beautiful white glitter just with those 2 interference colours on it, perfect for snow. And then we also have Tropical Tide as well, which actually doesn't look as green as it's coming across on camera. It is a lovely blue, but I think the light is just sort of shining. Oh, there, you can kind of see the blue more there. The light's just shining and picking up the green tone in the glitter, but it is a beautiful blue colour. And then we have 2 more sheets. I'll show you one of them behind the other, so you're not just seeing a reflection of everything. But the back sheet is the Silver Chrome Mirror Card, which goes perfectly with that misty grey colour, and all of the tones in this kit go really nicely with a silver metallic. And then we have 1 cotton handmade paper as well, which is the Hailstorm. I didn't actually end up using Hailstorm. I did have a couple of ideas for it, but I didn't end up putting them into practice, because I was thinking some of the dies you could cut this out to give them a texture that would kind of look a little bit like pebble dash kind of walls, but this is the Hailstorm, and it is a beautiful, really subtle blue colour, so you could definitely deepen the blue by bringing in some of your Nouveau product. You could use your clear mark pen, or take the little mini clear mark or the big clear mark and rub it over the top to catch the top details, and add your bit of embossing powder on there as well to change it up a little bit. Or you could even colour tint it a little bit with the Opal Quartz Aqua Shimmer as well. It would just give it that slight purple tinge to it. Or you could go on the back and actually add that purple tinge as well to make it look white but with that purple sort of reflection to it. So that is all of the papers from the kit. Then finally, what you've all been waiting for, we've got the dies and the stamps in here as well. And the whole theme of this, I mean, you could have guessed from the title of the kit, Festive Town, but there's actually little houses in here, which is, I was kind of thinking, this sort of idea, you could cut the houses out of and maybe give it that pebble dash kind of look to the side of the house, or maybe cut the roof portion out in this as well, or you can just go for this as like a snowy sort of effect as well. I don't know if any of you thought this was an odd sort of colour scheme to go with little houses, but to begin with I was kind of like, I'm not really sure how this is going to work, but I really love how my cards turned out with the sort of pink and blues together, and then having a few of the sort of neutral tones in there as well, and using the sparkly card for the snow. So I really think it is a fantastic choice to go with it, and I was quite surprised. So even me, who's been crafting for quite a while, I still get surprised by different colour schemes and using them with different things I hadn't thought of as well. And I really loved the way it worked with these little houses. So I'm very glad that they put those colours with these, because I would never have thought to use pinks and blues to make Christmas little sort of house village kind of scenes, but it worked so nicely. This month I also ended up getting the sticker, and you can actually see some of the elements on there. These are actually representations of the actual dies, which is really nice. So it gives you a little sort of glimpse at how you might want to put them all together. Yeah, so I used this die here that's just coming off the bottom of the sticker. I used that as a window, but it looks like it's supposed to be a door, but it doesn't matter because it worked as a window. So yeah, there's loads of different ways you can mix and match these. I don't think it particularly matters, but I hadn't noticed that they'd use that as a door on there rather than a window, but that's quite cool actually. Yeah, so it's nice to have that little bit of inspiration. Kind of just shows you how you could lay out some of these with the windows and stuff. So that's the lovely sticker, which I will be putting on the front of my folder. We have got a stamp set, which I will show you holding it up on here, I think. I didn't actually use any of the sentiments. I was going to, but all of the cards that I was creating, I felt like I needed a long skinny sentiment to kind of go with them, or to ground different elements, and I didn't feel like any of these were going to work. So don't be worried about like bringing in other stamps or dies or Dymo label to make your little sentiments on your cards as well. Even if you're supplied with sentiments, you don't have to just use the ones that you're given, which is very nice. You can just mix and match and personalise it however you want to. But I did really enjoy this little stamp set. I only actually used 2 of the stamps off this set, but you could definitely bring in some of these other elements and mix them with the houses, or make some standalone cards just with these stamps as well. I think my favourite stamp was the Santa with his 5 different reindeer, and that's actually surprisingly easy to cut around. Obviously not right up to the black lines, I left a white border around it, but if you're doing like a Nouveau heavy background sort of card and you don't have enough sky space to stamp it, it's not too difficult to trim around that, which is really good. You've got a gorgeous little cluster of holly, you've got a couple of like 4-pointed almost like shine stars, you've got this kind of motif which is kind of making me think of a Christmas jumper. So using this completely not related to the kit, you could do some kind of Christmas jumper. Maybe you've got a die that cuts out a jumper, or maybe you have the apron from a previous craft kit. You could make it have a Christmas kind of knitted jumper kind of look to it with that little stamp. You've got a gorgeous little string of bunting, which I did have an idea to use the bunting, but I ended up changing it. But my idea was to put the house in a circle aperture and then have this sort of hanging across the circle aperture, maybe in a couple directions as well. But yeah, lovely little selection of bunting with different sort of pennant and flagtail bunting-y shapes on there. But yeah, lovely for any sort of celebration card. I know the Jubilee's just gone, but you could have done it for like a Jubilee kind of a theme as well. Or regatta is often a good thing for bunting. Not that that goes with Christmas, but you know, using your bits and pieces for other occasions as well. You've got a lovely little solid star, which is always useful when you want to fill in like a blank area. And what I was saying earlier about like doing some little dots with your pen, you could have a few stars stamped around, then a few little dots, and then emboss it with the shimmering pearl embossing powder as well. That would look fantastic. I did a similar thing with this little snowflake and the pen actually. So you've got a gorgeous tiny little snowflake. It's so cute, and that actually even still heat embossed nicely, and Santa sleigh did as well. So even though this isn't an ultra fine embossing powder because it has that glitter in it, you can't really get ultra fine with this sort of sized particle of glitter in it, but it still did heat emboss these you know, pretty well. Obviously sentiments I wouldn't do with a sparkly embossing powder because I really don't think they would be very legible, and you would have to ink blend over the top to make them pop out if you did them in the shimmering pearl powder. Then you have this tiny little sort of shine mark sparkly sort of a stamp here, which sort of goes with those larger ones. You've got a lovely little present, and actually, oh no, it doesn't cut it out. I was going to say there's a present die in there. I wondered if the die would cut that out as well, but it doesn't. But you've got a gorgeous little present. You've got a lovely little reindeer or just a deer as well, with lovely big antlers. And then you've got a lovely little Christmas tree as well. So you could just use this to create a card. You could do an overall background with holly, trees, presents, and the little deer. I've done cards like that in the past, just stamping all of them in black and using my pens to colour them in, and it gives a really lovely effect for maybe like a more of a kid's sort of Christmas card, and you could use one of those sentiments on there as well. So you can definitely just create a card just from these too. And then sentiment wise, we have Merry Christmas with a gorgeous lovely like swirly Y and a swirly T actually, and it also has some of the little stars around it, but you could extend that further with the little tiny ones that you've got. You've got Happy Christmas as well, so you've got Merry Christmas and Happy Christmas, and then you also have Happy Holidays too. So if your recipient doesn't celebrate Christmas, you've also got the Happy Holidays too, which is really nice. And again, they've got similar kind of like snowflakey, starry designs that if you wanted to build this out further, you could use any of these small little elements to sort of build them out as well. So that is the little A7 stamp set that we're getting in this month's kit. And then the die set is this beautiful collection of houses. I love this one here. This is like a big clump of snow to sit on the top of one of the buildings, and it's got like little drippy bits coming down from it. But when I first saw that, it looks like a sleeping dinosaur or something to me. This is its tail, that's its head, and there it's only got 3 legs, but there is little legs. It looks really like a dinosaur to me. It looks more like a dinosaur in the die form than when you cut it out though. But I just spotted that when I first saw that die, so I thought I'd just mention it in case anybody else saw that too. But yeah, we've got gorgeous little houses in here, and I really love that all of the windows and doors are separate little dies, so you can really personalise it and use all of your cardstock to the best of its ability by cutting out all of these little elements. But they've also done it so they've grouped them together, so you're not gonna lose little dies because they're not like, you know, tiny little things. You've got multiples stuck together, or here you've got loads of little ones stuck together. So it's much easier for keeping your die safe, but also it's much easier for like batch cutting a load of things as well, because you don't have to worry about so many little dies on your plate at one time. They're all sort of stuck together, so you know they're not going to overlap, which is nice. So let's have a look at all of the houses first. If I get a piece of card so we can see them a little bit better, and if I zoom in a little bit, we can look at the outsides of all of the houses first. So just in like silhouette form, you have this kind of house, which if you didn't want this extra sort of roof portion here, you could trim that to be flat as well. You don't have to go with the actual shape that they've given you. You could easily just trim those sides down to be flat too. You've got this gorgeous one, which is kind of like, it could be the kind of building that you would get up in London with like, you know, Harrods in the bottom of it or something. And then you've got like apartments or flats in the roof section as well. Or it could be like almost like a townhouse with the 3rd story in it. Or it can just be a generic kind of building really. It's just a lovely straight-sided, like no nonsense sort of building. Then you have this one, which I didn't end up using this one in the end because I changed one of my ideas around and I ended up using the other house that I haven't just shown you yet. But yeah, there's this one as well, which actually has a circle window that will cut out in the top of it. This one I feel is dual purpose because it's actually supposed to be perspective and you can see the side of the house, but I actually used it as a whole house as well, make it look a little bit more like this kind of a house with the straight sides and the roof, whereas this is showing the gable end and this is sort of showing a side view of the roof with 2 gables or 2 apexes, would you say? I don't know. Anyway, it's just a different kind of house. And then you do also have one skinny little house, or this could be some kind of church as well. You could combine this maybe with, what one looks most churchy? Maybe this one, and cut it off here, and you could make a little church out of it. And this is like the main portion of the hall, and then this is the entrance into it, and with the bells in the tower, you could just cut that shorter and turn that into a church as well. So you've got tons of options of how you can customise all your little houses. But these are the main shapes of them. For this sort of blocky building, you have got this piece that actually cuts a rectangle, a skinny little rectangle, and then a kind of roof section, and it will deboss or emboss where the windows and door should sit and where the window at the top should sit as well. So it's not too evident, especially when you're using the textured card, but when you use more of like a specialty card like mirror card or the pearlescent card, it does tend to press these details in a little bit more. So depending on what arrangement of elements you're going for, you might want to think about what cardstock you're using or how much pressure you're using in your machine as well, because you could alter this building and maybe make it look like it's 3 stories down here with like 3 sets of smaller windows as well. But that is the piece that goes inside this one. Then you have this piece that goes inside this one here. This sort of looks like a typical sort of house, but it kind of has a separate like roof, so the bottom of the house is bigger than the top of the house and you've got an extra bit of roof there. Or I say this later on in the video, you could make it look as though this is kind of like a flat at the top and then this is a shop at the bottom, and this is like the awning that comes out over the top of the shop. So you could do that kind of thing. And this one has the doorway built into it, and actually if you cut both of those dies together, you end up with this piece as well. So this is quite a nice little element that you could use on a card too. You could use either of them individually, layering them up, or you can cut them both together, and you can do that with all of them as well, but I'd only done it for this one. But you can do that too and use those sort of elements for the little houses as well. And this one, oh yeah, this one indents all of the bricks into it too. I should show you that up close. But you actually get all of that brickwork detail, and there's 2 of the other ones also give you brickwork detail as well, but all the tiny little bricks, and they deboss in so perfectly, and then there's just sort of left apertures within the brickwork for where your window should sit as well. So that's that one. Then we have the tall skinny house, or the front part of the church, is this sort of piece which has got a little debossing triangle, and it also gives you the placement for the window and the door as well for that one. Then this one, which is the one that I didn't actually end up using, but this has brickwork detail in the roof area. It also has windows that cut out here, little archway windows, and the circle window cuts out, and then it just has placement areas for the arched door and oval windows as well. So you can use that one. And then this one is the one with the perspective to it. So it actually cuts this way. So the brick wall would be on this side of the house, and you'll see that in my sample later on. You get a debossing area in the roof. You get all of these areas that give you the sort of impression where the windows will sit. And then you also have this separate panel that has that gorgeous brickwork detail on it again. And you can actually get deboss and emboss detail on this one. A little bit of it will emboss as well. And then that just fits inside this little house. But later on I'll show you the 2 different samples that I did with this house, and how you can actually take some of, I ended up using these little windows here, and you can take some of those windows and put them in this aperture and make it look like this kind of a sort of house, you know, more like a typical sort of house that you'd see down a road. I mean, obviously you would see this house too, but I mean like the front view of a typical kind of house. But yeah, I like the perspective of this though. I think it's really clever the way they've done that, and I love that it works as a front view of a house as well as the perspective sort of view. And you can mix and match these in however, like whatever kind of way that you would want to. You could have loads of these going down a card, and it could be, it just reminds me of a building in London where you would have like a big long shop running along the bottom of it. You could do multiples of them and create that kind of scene. You can have a whole road of these kind of ones, giving you a little bit of perspective, so it looks like they're all detached houses, because you can see the side of the house, so they're all sort of detached from each other. You can use this sort of one that has almost like that extra sort of roof piece. It kind of looks like it has a flat roof and then an extra bit on top of it for a different sort of look. You can do the combination and make a church, or you can just use this as a skinny building to fill in a gap in your little road of buildings. And then this one is very sort of like villagey kind of a house, just a typical home really, this one, with the roof, the extra sort of little roof panel there as well. I mean, this doesn't have to be an extra roof. This could be this could be the back of the house, and that's the back door, and maybe you have one of those awnings that comes out over your back patio as well. So it doesn't actually have to be a roof portion. It could be, you know, one of those kind of canvas things that you pull out that will protect you on your patio whilst you're sitting out there. So lots of options for that one actually. But those are all of the main buildings. And then we have tons of these options for the different windows. So this one is a lovely long window, which is from the apertures designed to go in that top section of that roof. But if you're playing around with these and changing them, you can use this one and make this a 3-story one. You could use this and put it in that tall skinny building and make it look really modern, that it's got a really open glass window in there, like maybe showing a staircase inside. Not that you'd want to draw a staircase, but you know what I mean. Or you could no, it's too wide for that one. Unless you did the thing where you took that out and you could use this window in there as well. Maybe even like turning one of these into a school actually. Yeah, this kind of does look a bit like it could be a school too. And you could have big classroom windows in it as well. So you can really play around with them, with all the different windows and doors and stuff that you've got. So you've got that one. You have got this one, which is a lovely arch that is actually, well, I used it as a front door, so I'm presuming that is what it is. And I think it's supposed to be designed to go on here. But I actually used it here on this one, and I used it here on this one as well. So a really versatile little door that will work on multiple buildings. And you have the solid backing piece. All of them come with a solid backing piece, or most of them do, so that you can cut this from another colour, stick it straight behind here, and it looks like the lights are on, or it fills in the rest of the colour of the door, so it's a solid coloured door, or whatever you want it to be. You can add those details really easily. Then you have this one, which is one of my favourites, I think, which I thought that this was the backing piece that gives you the windowsill, and then these were both 2 different versions of windows. But looking at that sticker, I think that is supposed to be a door, although it doesn't have a door handle on it like the other door does. But I think it's supposed to be a door. So, but I used it as a window and it worked really well. And I also used it this way, trimmed off that bit just to give me that little section. And I used it as little square windows on this one as well. Even though you have square windows, I wanted to go with this sort of look. So I used it on there as well. So again, you can really mix and match these and use them wherever you want to. And if that is a door, you could put that door there on that house. You could put it at the bottom of the tall building. You could possibly put it there. You just have the indent of the archway behind it, and you could even add a door to this one. This has just got 6 windows on it, and I presume that the door is the other side of the building, but you could definitely swap one of them for a door as well. If you were doing lots of these too, perhaps you could bring one of these in as a door and have a little balcony on there as well. You can like embellish these as much as you want to personalise them, or mimic a building that you know as well with any of these different elements. Then I didn't end up using this one because I didn't use that building, and this one had the oval kind of windows on it, but you have the actual window frames and then the solid one as well. But you could obviously switch it up into any of the different houses and add oval windows on them. Then this one is designed to go on that tall skinny building with the little door, but you could put that little door on this one. The door would work really nicely there. You probably wouldn't want to put it on this one because that little rectangle does actually cut out, and it might look funny having a smaller arch door on there. But you can definitely use that on the one that it's intended to go onto as well. I was a bit confused by this window though. I guess if you cut a solid piece to go behind it, it would look a little bit more normal, but it just kind of looks a little bit odd to me. That it kind of looks like a luggage tag with a hole in the middle. So it was kind of confusing me a bit, but there might be windows in different countries that look like that, and I've just never seen one before. But yeah, you can definitely use that. I mean, it could just be a window frame really, couldn't it? And it's just got a big solid panel of glass in it. I think it's just throwing me off because of the shape of it. But you have that option as well in that little one. Then this one is so adorable. This is the little arched window which goes perfectly on this house. and you can just put 6 of them on there. And I say later on when I'm showing you my samples that I did, have a play around with your placement of what you're putting on your card before you start cutting all your windows, because you might be able to get away with hiding a window behind a tree or something when you're building up your scene. So think about sort of the placement as well, because you might not have to cut as many doors or windows as you think you might need. But that again has the frame and the backing piece as well. And then you've got this little cluster here, which I wasn't sure what all of these pieces were, but obviously the circle window works perfectly on this one, which has the sort of indent for a circle window, and then you can also put it on that one as well, which has the fall away piece for the circle. You could definitely put that on there too. And then I suppose these ones are supposed to be windows that would work on this house here, but they just looked a little bit odd to me and I wasn't quite sure how to use them. But you've got all of those different shapes to play with and sort of mix and match, see if you like. Oh, actually, I've just realised what one of them is. It's a decoration for the chimney. I couldn't figure out what that weird shape was for, and the tiny little one, it's the chimney. You can actually make little layers and decorate them onto that little chimney. That's really cool, actually. I don't know why I didn't see that before. But anyway, you have that option too. I don't think that rectangle is supposed to be the front door. Unless you're supposed to... No, I'm not 100% sure about what is supposed to be the front door of that house. But I'm sure you could play around with these and build up something as well. Or you can maybe even use these larger windows on this house. It doesn't matter that they're not the size of the square indents that are on there. You could get away with those larger windows because they kind of look a little bit more like, you know, a landscape window in a bedroom and stuff. So yeah, you've just got lots of lovely options on there. I'm glad I figured out that that is decoration for the chimney as well, just in case you couldn't figure it out either. We now know that that is the chimney decoration, and you could definitely die cut part of this and nick that chimney and put it on this house or this house as well. So if you wanted a chimney, you can definitely pinch it off that house and put it on another one, even on the tall skinny one actually as well. But yeah, that is that little last window die. Then we have the drippy bit of snow, which kind of looks like a sleeping dinosaur. I'm really curious to know if anyone else sees that or if it's just me. But you can use this gorgeous piece anywhere that you want to. You can have it here on that front sort of overhang piece. You can use it on the top of this tall building. You can use it on the middle section of that tall building. You could use it on this section of this building. On this one, when I took this central piece out and used it as a whole building, I put it there as well, and it looks really great. It just adds a lovely drippy snow effect. And I was saying you could snip off these drips here and put it on the ground, and then it just looks like mounds of snow in front of your buildings as well. So that is gorgeous little die, that one. Then on this die we also have another drippy snow piece as well. So this is more like pointy drippy. And actually I'm just realising maybe that is snow to go on the tree rather than on the buildings. But I did actually use it on the building. I kind of rested it over the top of a window on the cards that I've done. But you could put it on the top of the chimney. You could have it sloping down the really pointy roof. You could do it on the top of that roof. You could have it on the top of this roof as well. Sorry, that was out of frame. You could have it on the top of that roof as well. Loads of areas that you could put that, but I'm now thinking maybe it's supposed to go on the tree. But you do also have two different trees as well. So you've got a larger tree and then you've got a smaller tree that's got more uniform kind of branches. This one does have a sort of sparse or smoother area in the middle of it as well, but they make a really nice effect when you add a lot of them together. It really gives nice sort of perspective having the smaller tree and the larger tree as well. Then we have a gorgeous little lamppost. I love little lampposts. They're so adorable. We've had a few now. Well, maybe this is the third one. I can't think exactly what sets they're in, but I'm sure we've had a couple. Oh no, we had a larger one. Yes, it was a larger lamppost in one of the shop window die sets. I think it was the Christmassy one actually, and then I'm sure there was a tiny one with something to do with one of the older magazines actually as well. But anyway, we have this gorgeous little street lamp, which you could actually, just thinking about it, use to hang the bunting between. If you were going to do like a regatta sort of card, you can have bunting hanging between the little street lamps, or you could make that Christmassy bunting and have street lamps in front of all of the houses with the bunting running between them as well. Or for any other sort of festive kind of events, or maybe sporting events as well, you could have little banners and colour them in the colours for whatever team you support and have them between the little lampposts as well. It just gives a sort of anchoring place to put them, which is nice, rather than them just being in midair. But what I was saying before about having an aperture, that always works nicely to kind of anchor bunting going across something too. Then we also have a picket fence die, which we've had quite a few picket fences now, but they're always different scales. So if you have some of the other ones, you might want a smaller picket fence, especially if you were doing like a balcony on one of these. You might want a small little fence to kind of look like a balcony railing or something. Or you can go with this larger picket fence that comes in here, and this can be sort of the foreground and then the house is down the pathway in the background or something. And to go with that, you also have a little cat as well, which I thought is really sweet. And if you had this in the foreground, you can have the little cat sitting outside too. I did actually well, I used the cat quite a lot, and you'll see that in my cards. I got carried away with it. But you can actually use the cat close to the house, and it still looks really nice having quite a large cat compared to your house. But obviously, cards don't have to be realistic, so it still looks sweet having a really big cat next to your house. But lovely little cat die. It's giving me similar feelings to the little bunny rabbits that were in that Designer's Choice die set that I really loved. So you've got gorgeous little cat. Then you also have this kind of little gift tag sort of nameplate die, which actually fits all of the stamped sentiments in as well. So if you're struggling with how to add your sentiment onto your card, you can just die cut one of these and then stamp one of the sentiments into it as well. And it has a beautiful like debossed kind of edge to it as well, which just gives it a fancier sort of look too, which is nice. And I mean, you could even have that sort of hanging between two lampposts as well, depending on your layout and, you know, whether you want it to sort of cover part of the card as well. But you can definitely use this to instantly add your sentiment onto your project too. Then finally, we've only got 3 dies left. We have a tiny little Santa's hat, which I actually put on one of the buildings, and I thought it looked really sweet. I cut it out of the 2 different colours and then trimmed off the sort of furry bit down the bottom and the pom-pom, and then stuck them back onto the other one. And then we have a present and a stocking as well, and these are both verso dies, so if you cut both together, you'll actually get the whole image with the fall away pieces popped out of it, and the same with the stocking as well. So gorgeous little elements or accents that you can use anywhere on your card. I'm trying to think. I guess the present and the stocking, and as I was saying before, the cat are on quite a large scale, but thinking about it, if you did turn one of these into a doll's house, you could then layer up other presents and stockings around it, and then it kind of looks like it's a present under the tree or something. So you can definitely do that kind of thing as well. If you are worried about scale and you want perspective to be correct and stuff, you could make this a miniature house rather than everything else being massive. So there's definitely ways around changing the scale and stuff, but I really enjoyed working with this kit, and I think it's going to be a really nice one for anybody who does love dolls houses, or if you just love like the gorgeous Christmas movies when they're walking down one of the streets in the town and it's all decorated really nicely with bunting and all sorts of stuff. And actually, you don't have to keep it too Christmas themed. If you have other stamps or small dies in your stash, little pumpkins would look really sweet. You could have Halloween coloured bunting going between them and have little pumpkins out, and even I know I've got a lawn fawn stamp set that's got tiny little characters going trick-or-treating. You could have them like walking down the road and then all of the different houses, and you could decorate them differently, cut them out from other colours of cardstock that you might have, all sorts of ideas, so many different ones. So I will put all of these away and then show you all of the cards that I created. So these are all of the samples that I've created with the kit. I've got 7 samples, but the first one kind of like doubles as 2 different ideas really, because it is actually a gift tag, but oh, if it will come off, it's supposed to be able to come off. I just put it on there with a couple of glue dots so that you could remove the gift tag and maybe use it as like an actual decoration to hang on the Christmas tree. But also it's a gift tag idea or a card idea. You don't have to make it a removable gift tag as well. It's just an extra little way of giving you a couple of different ideas of adding like a little house to a card. So let's look at the actual gift tag first. So I've doubled it up and I've layered it. This is like the more square looking building with hardly any sloping on the roof. And I've kind of doubled it, so I've got 1 cut from white, 1 cut from the glitter card, and I had one of these cats left over from one of the cards you'll see later, so I put that on the inside just to make it have a little extra sort of hidden element to it. And then I've also added the little Santa hat to the top of the building, because I thought that was quite a cute little idea, and you have it in there, so you might as well use it to add it to different places. You could have actually made the tree be wearing the Santa hat, or maybe even the lamppost or the tall skinny building as well would look really nice with the little Santa's hat on the top of it too. Then I love that little snowdrift piece. I probably already said this earlier in the video, but I really love that like gorgeous like little pile of snow and the little drips coming down. It really just adds something, and you can put this wherever you want. I decided to go here on this one because I had the Santa's hat and the sort of hole for the twine to go through, but you could put that along the top as well if you want to, and you can fit it on the other different houses as well and add a little bit of snow to them too. Or you could even, if you cut those little drips off and made it flat along the bottom, that would be nice sort of like snow drifts to have in front of the house as well. Then I've done all of the little windows on here, and you'll see these same windows appearing on a different card as well, because the little die, as you will have seen, cuts this window, and the solid piece. So I cut loads of them from the dark blue and then loads of them from the silver as well, so I could mix and match them and actually put the silver behind the dark blue, and then on the other sample I've put the dark blue behind the silver frames. I really like that idea, the way they've put those little elements together, because it really makes, well, one, you don't lose the dies because it's a bigger piece of metal because they're all stuck together. But it also means if you're like batch cutting something to make 5 little windows on a house, you've then got enough kind of window frames for another house as well, which is quite nice. Or you can mix and match them too. So I've kind of done these sort of windows for upstairs and then these windows for downstairs on this one. And you also have the rectangular window for like the loft portion as well, like a loft conversion in the roof of the building, which is nice. You've got that stunning little lamppost which I've put on there, and then I've also clustered some little trees on there too. So it just makes a really simple little gift tag, because I know some of you do like having little gift tag ideas, but I've also done it so that you can stick it onto there, and I've actually put this onto a piece of vellum so that it would pull off easier than onto cardstock with those little glue dots. And for the vellum, I think you can just about see it, I took my little mini clear marking pad and I swiped it along, and it only caught in some areas to give these kind of like paint stroke almost look to it. And then I also came back in with the clear mark pen that we're also getting in this kit, and then I embossed it with the Shimmering Pearl embossing powder. So it's really subtle and just a little bit of extra detail, but it just gives a little bit more interest, gives it a little bit more sparkle and stuff as well. And for a Christmas card, I don't think you can ever have too much sparkle on a Christmas card. For all of my samples, I have actually just used a Dymo label, because a lot of the designs I wanted it to be straight across, whereas in the stamp set, as you've already seen, they're all like stacked sentiments, which didn't really work for what I wanted for my cards. So don't think just because they're the only sentiments that come in the stamp set that you can't, you know, mix it up and use something else. And I find having my Dymo labeler is just so useful, because you can just type out any sentiment that you want. But yeah, anyway, I love to be able to just add that like personalised or different sort of message with my Dymo labeler. And I think this works really, really nicely. Then for the background, which you will see on this card and the next card, I wanted to show you how you can use it portrait and landscape. But you know, I love my squishing technique, where I usually do nice big blobs of Nouveau drops and glacier paste and the glitter accents, the glimmer paste, what else do I use? You can do it with mousses as well, actually. But I love doing that squishy kind of effect, and I thought, well, why not try and make the dots much smaller, so even smaller than a normal Nouveau drop that I might do, and then squish the two pieces together so it kind of looks like falling snow in the background. I know it's kind of a little bit odd having blue snowdrops on the white background, but I thought it was a different kind of idea. And if you didn't like the blue snow on the white background, you actually have the elements in this kit to be able to make white snow, but then you would need some ink from your stash to ink over them. But you could take your Nouveau Clear Mark pen, draw dots like this all over the background, and emboss it with your Shimmering Pearl embossing powder, and then you could ink blend over the top with blue ink, and then the clear, sparkly, pearlescent embossing powder would kind of resist the ink that you put in the background, so you'd end up with white snow if you did it onto white card. So you could definitely do that option as well if you'd rather. But I quite like the colours of this kit, because they're like turquoisey blues and the coral kind of colours and a little bit of grey and stuff as well. I feel like you can go really abstract or quirky with your Christmas card designs because of this crazy kind of colour scheme. So I thought it worked really nicely for this sort of card, and I think it works really nicely for the next card as well, where I decided to do a little row of houses like down a road, or I don't know, this really reminds me of like the houses that we used to have on the campus at uni, because they're all the same. But I suppose most roads do have houses that are all the same along them as well. I will say though, do think about what houses you're adding to a card and how many windows you're going to need, because 18 windows is quite a lot of die cutting to get all of the different bits and pieces. But I did switch it up, so there's actually 3 different colours. So I cut 6 windows from the grey, 6 windows from the coral, and 6 windows from the silver, and then I just mixed and matched them all. So you've got a little bit of sparkle from the silver mirror card, either as the solid or as the little frames and stuff, and it's kind of balanced across the card. But I really like how this turned out. It was very time consuming to do those fiddly little windows, but I do think it is worth it. And if you are going to like follow this kind of layout or something, make a note of where I've put the trees, because you don't actually need windows in all those places. I could have got away with 2 less windows. Or if you're going to put the doors on, rather than just having, you know, this side of the house has just got windows on and the doors around the other side, if you were going to have the front doors as well, you could probably get away with putting a tree in front of a downstairs window on all of them, and then just having the front door, so then you'd only need 12 windows rather than 18 windows. So think about your kind of layout before you start die cutting everything, so it might save you a little bit of die cutting for some of the windows. But I do love again that the die has the frame and the solid on it, so that you can cut from all sorts of different colours and then just mix and match them. And you know, it just makes it a little bit quicker to do really, and it means you're not going to lose the dies because they're both together on the same little one. I've also put 3 of the gorgeous little lampposts. I love tiny little lampposts, they're just so adorable, and they have the aperture in them, so you could put like a piece of vellum and use an alcohol pen to draw like a little light in there, make it look a little bit more old-fashioned, or have it coming from the top and be like a little LED light in there. Or I've actually just put a little bit of the glitter card, the sugar crystal glitter card behind them. But you could also paper piece the bits that fall out back in if you had cut them from the sugar crystal card as well. So whatever you want to do really, because it's a little bit fiddly to cut around them just to back them with that cardstock. And I've also put the sugar crystal as a little sort of sloping hill, which I just freehand cut with my scissors. And for this one I had done a grey building, so I used pink trees, but for this one, because I'd done the pink and coral houses, I then used the blue trees. So I think actually both options work really nicely, and I really love this quirky colour scheme. When I first got the kit I was thinking, how am I going to make houses and stuff from pink, blue, you know, the sort of wackier colours that are in there, and I was thinking they're all going to have to be grey, and then it's going to look really boring and I'm going to use up all of the grey cardstock and stuff. But I really enjoyed using these colours together, and I think they do really work nicely for Christmas. A little bit more of a, as I said before, quirky kind of Christmas, but it also, because you're working with these colours, I didn't feel like I was making Christmas cards either, even though they, well, not all of them are Christmas cards, but most of them are Christmas cards, but even though I was, you know, actually making the Christmas cards, it didn't feel like I was because of the colours that I was using. And houses you can use all year round as well, so it doesn't have to be Christmas or winter. You could ditch the trees and just have them as little houses down a road. You could make it look more like a doll's house rather than an actual house down a road. All sorts of different things that you can do with the new home cards. Even like, I can't wait to come and visit you or something as well. It could be that kind of card too. So loads of different ideas. For the sentiment in this one, I did Santa Claus is coming to town. So obviously because I'd done that sentiment, I had to put the little Santa with his reindeer from the stamp set. But because I had done the Nouveau drop background, I stamped him onto black, well, in black onto an extra piece of white card and then trimmed around it and put it on. I wasn't sure if it was going to work nicely, but I actually do really like that effect. I think it did work really nicely. Just cutting around it and sticking it onto there. So even if you come to sort of build your scene and then an afterthought you think you want to add this, it does look nice just cut out and stuck on top, so that works really well. So that's the second card that I've done. I think that possibly could be my favourite, or the next one actually. But the next card, I've shown them to you in a specific order to sort of make this make sense. So I had lots of windows left over from these in the opposite colourway, and I had been cutting these houses out, and I noticed the aperture of this house, and I thought, hang on, that looks like a normal house front on anyway. So I cut this as an aperture. So this house, which is actually sideways, or like a different perspective sort of view where you can see the side of the house, but I just used its aperture. It's not 100% like straight or symmetrical, obviously, because it's meant to be this sort of a look with the gable end, but it does still work, and it's a little bit quirky with its little angles, but I think it works really, really nicely. And then instead of using the windows that are designed to be used with this one, because of the way that it's all sort of put together with the side wall, I used the leftover windows from this one onto this house. So you can definitely mix and match all your windows as well, and it still looks fantastic. And for this one, because it's an aperture, I didn't use any of the like cutout pieces to put onto this. I just backed the roof with some of the coral cardstock, and then I backed the rest of it with the misty grey cardstock, and then I added on all of the little windows and the little door as well. And this one, the windows are the opposite, because I cut 5 of each window, and then I had the opposites left over. This one has the 3 of those windows along the top, and this one has the 3 of those windows along the top as well. I've used that fantastic little snowdrip as well, so you can see it works on this building. It works on this building if you're using it like this as an aperture. You possibly could get it to work on there. You might have to cut it short so that it fits along just the roof line right at the top there. Then I've used the coral trees again because I had some left over from doing this. I've also put the cat on there as well. I tried to keep this one quite simple, so I've used a lot of like white elements so that they're not too in your face. So I've hand cut a little path that comes from the door down to the bottom of the card. I've put a white glitter cat on there that then matches the snow, and then in the background, instead of being like stark black stamping Santa, I've done it with the embossing powder, so the shimmering pearl, and I've also stamped the little snowflakes and just drawn on some dots with the Nouveau Clear Mark pen as well. So you've got a whole background, a whole scene sort of built for this card, but it looks really simple, and it's just when you see it close and when you tip it in the light that you get the rest of the effect that's on there, which I really loved how this one turned out. And you could definitely do this in so many different colours to make whole like batches of cards as well, and especially with the windows, and you know, mixing and matching them and stuff too, and for the doors too, because the way the door comes, you have the intricate detail and the solid, which is the same as the windows, so you could definitely do the whole thing where you have like double the amount of what you need, and then you can swap it to be the reverse on the next card as well. So I really do love how this all sort of turned out. Really. And then for the sentiment, I've just done Merry Christmas with my Dymo labeler as well. So the next card is a Happy New Home card, and it's kind of making me think of a Union Jack, because we've just had the Jubilee and we've seen the Union Jacks everywhere. The way I've put that together and then hidden the centre, it really looks like a Union Jack, but I decided to use the tall skinny house in a different way. So this is actually the tall skinny house that is supposed to have the window and door on, which I cut them all out ready, but I didn't like the look of it in the end, so I just left them plain. I'm just trying to pick them up. But you've got the cute little door and window that do go on this house, so you could definitely have added them on there as well if you wanted to, but I felt like it didn't need it, and I thought it would have been a little bit confusing to have them on there. But when you could still see this middle portion, they're basically all like arrows pointing in because of the pointy roof of the house. But I just quite liked how that sort of turned out, and it gives you a different use for those little skinny houses as well. But you could definitely bring the skinny houses into a town kind of scene as well. I have kind of just focused on a single house, especially like repeating it on this card, but you can definitely mix and match them all together as well, and they'd look fantastic. And then for this one, I've added the different house on here as well that kind of has the extra bit of roof for the bottom of the sort of like porch piece. And I've actually used different windows on this one, so again you can definitely mix and match them. You don't have to stick with the windows that are all sort of together on the little plate that goes with that specific house. This house actually has a shorter rectangular kind of door to it. I could have cut off the top archway of this one and still made it a rectangular door if I wanted to, but I decided to go for that arch door because I really like the look of that. And then the windows on these are actually, because this piece cuts this window and this window, you end up with double the amount of windows. So I took the 3 leftovers of this window that I had from the silver, and I just snipped that top piece off, and I was left with this little piece, and then I just turned that sideways and used those on there because they work perfectly in those little square areas. And then I did use the actual round window that's supposed to go on that house as well. And for the layering on this one, I cut both of them from both colours, the pearlescent card and the coral cardstock, and then I actually pinched bits off them. So I pinched the whole roof here and the whole roof up here as well, and then I layered bits and pieces on top. And also, as I was cutting those, you can actually layer both dies together and you get this piece as well. So you could definitely do some funky kind of modern pop arty sort of looking cards just using these kind of pieces too. And you can even take the opposite colour and recess the pieces back in as well if you still want that brick detail on there, which would look really lovely as well. I have nicked the roof pieces there, so I can't put those in, but yeah, it still looks really nice doing that kind of thing. Actually, doing it like that is really making me notice this. This could maybe, instead of being, I'm thinking it's, you know, the house is bigger at the bottom than it is at the top, and this is a roof coming down, but this could be a little canopy over a shop, and this could be a shop down here, and that could be a flat at the top. So you could definitely turn that house into something completely different as well. It doesn't have to just be a little house with an extra wide base to it or bigger floor area downstairs. So that is a little new home card, and you'll notice on this one when I tip it in the light, I used the Opal Quartz Aqua Shimmer that we're getting in the kit as well on this one. It does have a purple kind of tint to it, but I did feel like it went nicely with this card actually. So I just covered all of these pieces with it, and then I splattered it in the background as well because I just felt it looked a little bit too plain otherwise. It's just got something a little bit extra in the background then with that. Then I have got a really simple card utilising the glitter accents and the Nouveau drop from the kit, and literally just doing a swirl of it. I mainly focused the glitter accents on the outside, and then I did the Nouveau drop swirl more towards the centre with a little sort of blobby bits going onto the outside. And it doesn't matter if it's not perfect because it still looks lovely, even though there's a few blobs in there or it's sort of spat and stopped and started as I was drawing it. I think it still looks really nice, and I just wanted to do a simple little happy birthday card. So again, I've used my Dymo label to do the sentiment, and then the present I cut the intricate detail from white, the navy and the blue glitter card, and then I cut the solid one from the silver mirror card, and I layered all 3 together. I wasn't sure what colour I wanted the intricate detail to be, so I cut it from all of them so that I had the options, and then I decided that I liked all of them together because it does tie in all of the colours from the background then. So I really like how that one turned out, especially with that triple layer. It just gives it something a little bit different. So that is a really simple birthday card. And then the final 2 are utilising that gorgeous little cat. So I think it was a designer's choice that had the bunny rabbit in that I did loads of these little cards with, and I'm sure I've done it for a few others. I don't know if there was any other animals, I'm not sure, but I thought the cat would be a perfect one to do this with as well, especially for those people in your life who really love their cats. And I did a punny sentiment. So this one says have a meowy Christmas, and then this one just says meowy Christmas. And I just cut a bunch of them out, and then you end up with the apertures. This time I knew I wanted to make this card, so I did leave more space around them so I could get more of a square kind of aperture around them. Because in the past it's been an afterthought to do it, but basically all I do, don't be too precise with this. You don't need to get them to be perfectly square unless you really want to. You could use a square die, maybe a stitched one would look lovely around there, but I just tend to cut the aperture out, keep the cat because I sort of swap them around, and then literally just take your long bladed pair of scissors and just cut around it. And it doesn't matter if it's perfect or not, it still looks fantastic whether it is perfectly cut or not. And if you don't want to recess the cats back in because maybe you only cut enough to do this card with the actual cats and you wanted to use all the apertures for this card, you can just take another colour of cardstock and put it behind and then cut round it again as well to get the different colours behind them. You don't actually have to use the die cut cats to go back inside them as well. But I had a few left over because I cut way too many of them, so I did recess a few of them back in there as well. And then this one I just made almost like a wreath of cats. It's actually 10-sided, so it's kind of like a decagon, but it's not 100% regular, I don't think. I'm not sure what the angles are in a regular decagon, but I tried to just sort of space them out as evenly as I could. Just place them all down and then just pick one up at a time and glue it into place. And then I just used a silver gel pen to kind of highlight the actual shape that they're going round in. And then I freehand cut a heart because I felt like it needed something in the middle. And then I just did the gel pen around the edge as well. And you can't really tell that I freehand cut it because the stitches kind of distract your eye. It makes it look a little bit more perfect, which is nice. And yeah, I really love how that turned out, and I thought it's just a really sweet little idea. And I'm sure, I can't remember what set it was now. I feel like it was called like Pet Window or something, and it was a craft kit from ages ago, like literally probably before kit number 20, or somewhere like that far away. But I'm sure it had a little dog silhouette in it as well. I think it had a dog and a cat actually. But you could do this kind of thing with those little dies as well, with any kind of animal that you might have. Even, yeah, actually even some of the stamp clubs and stuff that had dies that coordinated with a stamped image, they might even be recognisable enough to be used as an aperture form for that character as well. So yeah, this is such a versatile little design, and I have shown you it with multiple other bits and pieces before, whether it is an actual animal or whether it's just a shape as well. It always looks nice doing this kind of design. So I hope you've enjoyed this month's Tonic Craft Kit unboxing video. This was for kit number 57, which is called Festive Town, and hopefully you'll have got a few ideas from the video, whether it's just using some of the Nouveau elements to make a really quick and easy birthday card, or whether it's just taking that little cat die and turning it into a card for someone in your life who loves their cats as well, or maybe it's using the houses in a weird way and it almost creates a Union Jack kind of effect, which I wasn't going for, but it looks really cool anyway. My original idea for this one actually was to just have the houses pointing inwards and then just putting one of the little label dies in the centre with a stamped sentiment on, but I really wanted to use one of the other houses as well. I think there's just one house that I didn't end up using, but all of the other ones you've got a little bit of inspiration using them, and actually two inspirations using this one. That's probably why I didn't end up using the other house, because I did two with this one to show two different ways of using the same house die to get a little bit of a different effect. And the little tag idea as well, obviously you don't just have to use this tag to make this house to make a tag. You could definitely use this house, you could do a version of this house to make the tag as well, or this house, or the one that I haven't used as well. You could maybe even attach a few together, especially the tall skinny house. You could attach it next to this house or this house or this house, and create a little double house kind of tag as well. So yeah, hopefully you got a few ideas, hopefully you enjoyed the video as well. If there are any of you left that don't already subscribe to the Tonic Craft Kit, I will leave the links to the Tonic websites below as well, so you can grab hold of your subscription or your one-off kit if you want to too. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again in the next video.